Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Cryptids and Monsters Encounters video. I thought I would mix this one in here while I'm continuing to do your aliens and UFO suggestions, mainly because when I came across this specific encounter, once again delving into the world of shadow people, in particular, the Hat Man, it actually brought me to another interesting topic that I'll talk about in the later half of this video. Apparently there's a challenge out there that's happening in the world of YouTube and then also TikTok when it comes to trying to coerce or bring out the Hat Man using a very specific type of medicine. Now, I won't be able to mention it here on this channel or on this video because I don't want anything to end up being banned, but you can find it online and you can see that it's pretty dangerous in of itself. So I'm going to mention again that here in a little bit, but it has to do with this. It's from a user by the name of Space Cowboy 195. Once again, it's from the subreddit called Shadow People. They titled theirs as My Experience with the Hat Man. And then the sub part of this video is going to be the B challenge. So again, I can't say exactly what that is, but I'll mention more of it in a minute. So here's what the user states. About 7 or 8 years ago, I was lying in bed after taking some Ambien, not a very high dosage, maybe 10 milligrams, as I had been struggling with insomnia since my best friend had passed away when I was 18. I was about 21 or 22 at the time. And so I was lying in bed, struggling to fall asleep, and for some reason decided to stop trying. I was just lying there in bed for a while, wide awake, but definitely in a type of altered state, and after about an hour and a half after taking that Ambien, I remember starting to feel somewhat afraid and almost vulnerable, like I knew taking Ambien and not sleeping wasn't a good idea, but I definitely wouldn't be able to sleep, so I felt kind of doomed, like I was about to have a bad trip or something. The next thing I know, there is someone standing in the doorway of my room. It was a very tall man wearing, you guessed it, a fedora bowler type hat and a long trench coat. I remember he reminded me of some kind of jazz musician. He was standing against my door, very cool and casually, staring right at me. I remember wondering if his skin was red, though maybe I was hallucinating Satan, but it wasn't really clear. I do remember he had a wicked smile, though, and with his evil-looking eyes, I was certain it was Satan, but not scary demonoid Satan, more like an artist's interpretation. He stared at me for a good while, and while I was scared, I didn't feel threatened. I don't remember what happened next. I think I just slept on the couch that night, but especially after taking Ambien, I'm not surprised I don't remember much else from that night. And I never saw him again, but for years was certain this was just something I hallucinated, which also could have been the first and only time that ever happened. I never took acid or tripped before either. Fast forward to today, I watched a video on YouTube about the Hat Man and the Bee challenge. The thumbnail alone gave me chills as it was exactly what I had seen, albeit with a wider brimmed hat. After watching the video, I realized now I probably wasn't hallucinating at all. I may have really seen the Hat Man or Satan himself. After watching the video, I had to find some outlet to share this experience and found this sub. Already, I'm thoroughly disturbed by some stories here, but what are the odds? Millions around the globe just happen to have the same experience. To me, that's the scariest part. There's almost no chance that it's a coincidence. And then that's it. That's everything that the user Space Cowboy 195 mentioned. Let's go ahead and let's talk about that, and then I'll talk about the other half of the video here. So as you can see, this was someone that mentioned about 7 or 8 years ago they were taking Ambien. Now that's not the drug that I'm going to talk about here in just a minute, but instead this user was taking that one, specifically Ambien, and then for some reason they were not being, falling asleep, like they were having a hard time doing so. But somewhere in between then, they all of a sudden saw what they described as a very tall man wearing a fedora bowler type hat and a long trench coat. And it had either really, really dark, let's say, coloration to it, like almost like a blackness, or he said that it was more along the lines of like a reddish type. I imagine like a very, very dark red look to it. And it was just standing there, very cool, like casually staring right at him. And of course, he had that wicked smile that the Hat Man is known for. And so this user posited, thinking that it was Satan, or at least the closest thing to an artist's interpretation of Satan. And so, even though he was scared, he didn't feel threatened, which was interesting. And then eventually, afterward, he just passed out. Like somewhere, he ended up sleeping on the couch, then woke up, then never ever saw the Hat Man again. But he said he was reintroduced to it after he saw that YouTube video. Let's go ahead and let's talk about that now. I haven't heard of this. I haven't heard of the Hat Man and the B challenge. Again, the B stands for a specific drug that people are taking for this challenge. Apparently, it's something where you take this in large quantities, and again, red flags, red alerts, highest caution, do not advise. I do not recommend doing anything involving that type of challenge, not just because of the danger associated on a physical level with your body and whatever else that that drug does, but also because if you do, and this does work in terms of the challenge, then you're bringing on the Hat Man himself. That's essentially what the challenge is. It's people documenting taking that specific drug and then talking about their experience afterward. And it opened up a whole world. I was looking at these articles, and there's a lot of clicks, and there's a lot of specific posts both on Twitter and then also on TikTok, and then apparently Reddit as well. There's a whole bunch of stories associated with that, with people talking about doing this challenge and then having the Hat Man appear. And they're positing, thinking, what could it be? Is the Hat Man, again, something involving like paranormal stuff, supernatural stuff, demonic stuff, or could it be something that's more UFO related? One person was even stating, they hypothesized that it was more along the lines of an interdimensional being, something that is again seen by so many people out there, almost on a universal trait, but it's still there and it comes almost on command when you do this challenge. That's what makes this challenge so scary, is the fact that apparently people can do it and then bring about the Hat Man as is. Again, I don't recommend it at all. Do not do it. I'm not saying doing, to move forward with this challenge. Absolutely not. Do not do this challenge, not just again for your health, but also if it does bring about the Hat Man, that's a serious matter. This is something that is again considered the most evil of all the shadow people that are out there. I know I wouldn't ever do anything along these lines to be able to bring about the Hat Man. It's almost like the Ouija board. The idea that you could play with the Ouija board, open a door, but what happens if you can't close it afterward? And that's something that people just don't consider when they're dealing with the Hat Man. So having something like this as a challenge and having it be something that is growing in popularity, that's scary stuff. So I don't recommend it at all. Do not do it. It's dangerous. But at the same time, if anybody has more info that I haven't seen, like with regards to this challenge, this is again the first time I've heard of it, then please post it below. Like, where did it start? Like, where did people start doing this? And then how has it grown in popularity? And why does it work, apparently, when it comes to the Hat Man? This is all just crazy stuff. It's a world that, again, I don't recommend on that part. But let me know what you guys and gals think. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care. Bye.